As promised, we're talking about the next encounter in Salvation's Edge today. This encounter is pretty cool, very challenging in a contest mode setting, and follows the theme of requiring everyone to participate just like the first encounter. It's also the very first boss encounter in this raid and has a number of features that make it stick out when compared to other boss encounters in the game. So, buckle up, it's time to talk about Herald of Finality. Hey everyone, I'm Rizeki, and welcome to my design analysis of the Herald of Finality encounter in Destiny 2. As always, thanks so much for checking out the video. If you've been enjoying the encounter analysis videos or any other content on the channel, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on this one. We're getting close to 4,000 subscribers, so let's see if we can hit that milestone in the next couple weeks. But without further ado, let's talk about Herald. Just like my previous video I made about Substratum, I'm going to quickly explain the encounter, then I'll discuss my thoughts on the mechanics. If you're already familiar with this encounter, you could go ahead and skip to the timestamp on screen to skip right to the analysis portion. Herald of Finality is a boss encounter that takes place in 3 steps. First is gaining favor, next is collecting resonance, and third is damage. The arena is split into 3 areas, left, middle, and right, with each area having a single resonance circuit. Each circuit, just like in the first encounter, needs 2 players to interact with it. Naturally, because of this, teams will be split into 3 teams of 2, 1 for each circuit. After a short period of ad clear, the Herald will summon 3 players to join them in the center of the arena. These players will be the only ones able to shoot the boss's weak point on their head. Breaking the weak point will spawn 3 blight balls around the map. Destroying all the blights will once again open up the weak point, and after breaking it one last time, the summoned players will have the stolen favor buff. This buff gives those players the ability to see which type of resonance is required to complete a resonance conductor. Did I mention that there are multiple types of resonance now? There is pyramidal, just like in the first encounter, but spherical as well. The resonance required for each conductor will be random, and using the incorrect one will quickly wipe your team. After reading the required resonance, each team of 2 will have to bounce the resonance back and forth to spawn a small number of pyramidal and spherical resonance around them. Each player should collect a few of these, and the conductor player will need to pick up the correct type of resonance last in order to successfully complete the circuit. When all 3 teams complete their conductor, we move on to the final part. A dark chest will appear in the middle boss arena. Dunk any resonance you still have into the chest to extend your wipe timer and to start damage. Damage phase is nothing special. Just hit the boss with weapons until you hit final stand, or until it becomes immune again. Herald is neat in that it's a roaming close range boss, similar to Crota, so you could utilize a number of different damage strategies here. Once the boss is dead, you could grab your loot and just move on. Starting with what I like. Overall, this encounter is well put together. It successfully expands on the resonance circuit mechanics of the first encounter without making it too much more complicated. If this encounter presented too many additional components, it would become confusing and would take away from what the real focus of the encounter is, beating the boss. Boss encounters are about completing a short puzzle before dumping damage into the boss. No one wants to spend a million years getting to DPS, they just want to get there. Herald's short resonance puzzle is right in that sweet spot, where it isn't a tough lead-up puzzle, and it's pretty fast to actually get to DPS phase. Without spoiling too much of the fourth encounter, there's a reason that one is so much more complicated and confusing when compared to the others. Herald slowly builds upon the mechanics introduced previously, while Verity throws them all away and gives a new set of mechanics that are not connected to the previous encounters pretty much at all. Slow buildup is good, throwing a mechanics dumpster at players randomly is not, usually, but I'll talk about Verity in a future video. I also really like how Herald again keeps up the theme of high player participation. Even if all you're responsible for is hitting the initial resonance plate, you are still involved in the encounter. Like I said last video, ad clear is boring and unengaging, leading to players not being able to truly enjoy the ins and outs of what makes a raid or dungeon special. Just the act of pushing that plate and communicating with your partner will make the experience of playing the raid so much better for everyone. Mechanics make raids, well, raids, so it's only natural to expect players to interact with them. The summoning mechanic is also really special. It reminds me of Atheon in Vault of Glass, where he will randomly split the team up. It's not as jarring in this encounter, and the mechanics for the summon team are fairly simple, but it keeps players on their toes and gets players used to needing to understand the encounter as a whole, not just a single job, which becomes way more important as you progress in the raid. What I found less good about the encounter is the actual design of the arena itself. Remember how I said there are 3 distinct areas in the arena, left, right, and middle? For some reason, these areas are not identical in their difficulty. The The left side is by far the hardest, with middle being kinda average and the right being easy mode. This added unnecessary frustration to my team on day 1, since everyone assumed the left side team was just messing up over and over again. It wasn't until we rotated sides that everyone understood the real issue. This is pretty bad, since you could unknowingly place players in positions that they are not prepared for, and this could lead to frustration, misplaced anger, and other negative feelings within your fire team. It could also further enforce the idea that players should stick to a single role and a single position when they do a raid, which leads to players not being flexible in future runs. If the difficulty of each area was more even, then it would alleviate a lot of these issues. I also have a small issue with unrelated mechanics being present here. The designers have been slowly introducing the idea of the witness using its hands to attack you, and on its own, that isn't that bad, but it's a mechanic that you never really interact with until the final encounter. It's just a minor nuisance in this encounter, and it provides nothing of value at this point. The boss's attacks are enough of a hindrance on their own, so why add something that appears to have no impact here? It also sets the players up to fail when reaching the final encounter, since they will inevitably expect the hands to mean nothing at first, since they had no mechanical significance up until that point. Herald does a good job of building up previous mechanics, but for some reason also simultaneously reinforces bad habits that will bite your team in the butt in future encounters. Overall, Herald of Finality is a pretty solid boss encounter. It builds upon previously established mechanics in a meaningful way, and provides an environment that allows players to participate. It's also simple enough to better prioritize the reason for the encounter, to kill the boss. I think this encounter just needs to have a second pass on its level design, as well as the removal of nuisance mechanics that have no effect on this particular encounter. It's a good base, and it's a pretty fitting boss for the scope of the Salvation's Edge raid. But what do you think? Do you enjoy Herald of Finality? Do you agree with some of my takes? Disagree with them? Let me know either in the comment section down below or over in my Discord server, linked in the video description. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm also going to be uploading the remainder of my encounter design analysis videos over the next couple weeks, so don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those when they drop. But I think that's all I've got for now. As always, I've been Rizeki, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.